is this going on? This is insanity. Even though they know that these gangs are patrolling these areas, they're not allowed to do anything about it. And I'm going to talk about one gang in particular that I believe the FBI and the Department of Justice should be cracking down as hard as they crack down on us.
I walk in redemption.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. All is very good, very blessed on this end. As always, my friends, I give all the praise, honor, glory, and thanksgiving to our God for that. You know, today I want to talk about some of the gang violence here in the United States. You know, if you remember back, some of you my age, or maybe even a little bit younger, a little bit older, you remember the 70s and the 80s and even into the 90s, all the coverage that Mafia, Cosa Nostra got, especially in New York, but really nationwide. I mean, it was wall-to-wall coverage all the time. You had the big names. You had Sonny Franzese in the 60s. You had John Gotti's in the 80s and the 90s. You had Paul Castellano. You had Carlo Gambino, Fat Tony Salerno, The Chin, and on and on and on. You know, we had all of those names, and that coverage was constant. You had the FBI, you know, in New York during my era, back in the 70s and 80s. The FBI had, I believe, 1,400 agents assigned to the 5 families in New York. Now, at that time, we had about total 750 members comprised all of the, 5 families, made members. Obviously, we had a lot of associates, but we had about 750 made members. So you had almost 2 agents for each made man within all 5 families. A lot of coverage. As a result, a lot of arrests, a lot of undercover investigations, a lot of informants came out of it, a lot of people went to jail. It was wall-to-wall coverage, wall-to-wall investigations. I know I had 2 undercover investigations on me. One was about boxing, another was about the gas business. I was arrested 18 times. I had 7 indictments. I went to trial 5 times. And that's only me. And there were so many others that had, just as much going on with respect to law enforcement. Well, I get it. We were that group. And I always said this, look, we weren't the only gang around. The Chinese had theirs, the Irish, they had the Westies back then. You had the Crips, you had the Bloods, but you didn't hear about that. They weren't intensely investigating them like they were investigating us. Now, why do you say that? Well, Michael, you were the biggest group. Yeah, we probably were. No doubt about it. Were we the most violent group? I don't think so. And I don't want to get into, demeaning other groups or should I say, slurring other groups. But there were other groups that were pretty violent out there too. But, part of the problem was this. I believe, and this is my perspective, you can agree with me or not, but I lived it, I was there, that whenever they come to get us, number one, we made headlines. You put John Gotti in jail, Carlo Gambino, Sonny Franzese, any of the big names, me to a lesser extent. But you know what? We made your career. That's it. You got a promotion. We made your career. And when you came to get us, what did we do? Did we run? No. Did we fight back? No. Did we shoot at you? No. We put out our hands. You put the handcuffs on us or behind us. We got in a car. We went. We bailed ourselves out, or we got no bail, and we fought you in court. It was it. They didn't need to come in with machine guns. They didn't need the flak jackets. They put on a show sometimes, but they knew they didn't need to do that. And a lot of times when they said somebody's a fugitive, when we found out that there was an investigation or they were arresting us, we turned ourselves in. So we made the headlines. We were the easiest to arrest. We were the easiest to prosecute because they created the RICO statute to go against us. They did all of that. It was very easy. These other gangs, the Crips and the Bloods, no, they weren't that easy. And they fought back at times. Same with the Irish guys, same with the Chinese guys, and same with others. And it kind of bothers me today that we have some violent gangs out there that are wreaking havoc on the communities. We didn't do that. I'm sorry, we did not do that. In our neighborhoods, in our communities, we took care of people there. There was no crime in our neighborhoods. No violence in our neighborhoods. We protected the people. We weren't the guys out in the street committing burglaries and doing all that kind of stuff and ripping people off. Now, am I justifying the life before I get the haters coming on? Oh, Michael, you're making it sound like it was a great life. People, I left the life. I walked away from the life. It is a criminal lifestyle. All I'm trying to bring out, the point I'm trying to bring out is, why were we the major targets? That's it. When you have all this stuff going on today, and I'm going to talk about one gang in particular that I believe the FBI and the Department of Justice should be cracking down as hard as they crack down on us. But they're not doing it. They're not doing it. And let's get into it and find out why. I mean, I know why, but we'll talk about it as we go along. First of all, let me give you the gang. Okay, this is called, you probably heard of it already, Tren De Agua. They're out of Venezuela. Let me give you some facts about them. The origin and evolution of Tren De Agua is this. They were founded in the early 2010s in Tocaron Prison, Aragua State, Venezuela. Initially, they focused on local extortion and drug trafficking. This was their way of earning a living. They expanded their operations amid Venezuela's economic collapse and political instability. Economic collapse because they're a socialist country. Everywhere and anywhere throughout history that socialism and communism were in play, it failed every single time. And yet we have people in this country that believe socialism is great. Don't they research? Don't they look at history? Don't they understand this? I don't know. Organizational structure, the hierarchical leadership with a central command. So they have a hierarchy in their leadership with a central command. Autonomous cells operating in different regions and countries. So they're now all over the world. Their estimated membership is 2,500 to 3,000 core members. That's about triple or 4 times the amount of mob guys that we had in America at that time. Criminal portfolio, this is what they're into now. Human trafficking, exploitation of migrants fleeing Venezuela, human trafficking, forced labor and sexual exploitation rings. So they're into human trafficking, drug trafficking, control of cocaine routes from Colombia to the Caribbean. They're into drugs heavy. Their emerging presence in synthetic drug markets like this garbage fentanyl and some of these other things, pink cocaine I'm hearing about. I can't even name all of these darn things. I hate anything to do with drugs, but this is the new stuff they're coming up with to poison us and to get our kids addicted. Extortion, vaccine protection rackets targeting businesses. I don't know what the hell that's all about. Digital extortion schemes. So they're into everything. Anything that they can defraud or extort or make money with, they're into. Violent crime, they're into contract killings. Kidnapping for ransom is what they do. Arms trafficking, smuggling weapons across South American borders. International expansion, presence in Colombia, Peru, Chile, Brazil, and now the United States. This is what this group is doing. So that's them. Now, wouldn't we want a gang like this arrested, locked up? Do we even want them in the country? Well, we know why they're coming here. They're coming freely over the border. Freely over the border. And let me tell you something. When mob guys came from Sicily and Naples and places like that in Italy, we came here legally. My ancestors came here legally. My father's father, my grandfather, who wasn't a made guy but had an association with the mob, he came here legally. Legally. We had to go through the proper channels. And then they got their citizenship, whatever they did. They came here legally. So in that regard, we don't even compare to these gangs. But they're coming over the southern border and they're being protected when they get here. Let me read you an article. How New York City's sanctuary status allows bloodthirsty migrant gang Tren De Agua to thrive in Big Apple's shelters. The Big Apple's migrant-friendly sanctuary city status has allowed the vicious Venezuelan gang Tren De Agua to flourish in local migrant shelters, hamstringing cops and keeping immigration agents in the dark, law enforcement sources tell the Post. What's with these sanctuary cities? What is with them? What are they trying to prove? Why do we have sanctuary cities where criminals are being protected? Migrant criminals, illegal migrant criminals are being protected. Why do we have these sanctuary cities? Why? Can somebody explain it to me? Somebody in the comment section or in the message section, give me a real, viable, realistic reason why we have sanctuary cities. I know the real reason why. But you tell me why. I want to hear you justify sanctuary cities. The gang has infiltrated the shelter system to build a criminal enterprise that peddles drugs, guns, and women in the 5 boroughs. But the restrictive policy largely bars the NYPD from policing the facilities and prohibits the city from tipping off federal immigration agents about dangerous illegal migrants, the sources said. Now, let me tell you the difference. The feds were all over the Mafia, Cosa Nostra, my former associates, my former life, all over them. We were the main focus. I told you, 1,400 agents alone on the 5 families in New York. Here, the feds are protecting the Venezuelan gang. Why? They're wreaking havoc. They've infiltrated the shelter system. They're building a criminal enterprise. RICO, criminal enterprise, prime subjects for it. They peddle drugs, they peddle guns and women in the 5 boroughs, but the feds are told, the NYPD, you can't turn them over to us. You got to protect them. Why are we protecting these gangs? Give me a reason. Give me a viable reason why we're protecting these gangs and why we destroyed the Mafia in this country. Tell me. It was an unintended consequence of this administration's policies, a source with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, in New York told the Post. However, the New York City Council and the mayor's office exacerbated the issue with policies that ignore federal law. Here's the irony of this. The feds were the ones that came after us. It wasn't the state. It was the feds. They came down on us hard. They created the RICO statute to bury us. They put hundreds of guys away for 100 years at a clip for union busting, labor racketeering. Come on. And these people are infiltrating migrant shelters, peddling drugs, peddling arms, peddling women, and the feds back off of them? Is there some kind of hypocrisy in that? They claim they're protecting the communities from ICE, all the while releasing these dangerous criminals back into the communities they preyed upon. Please, somebody justify this system for me. Justify the position that the feds are taking. The feds who came down on the Mafia like gangbusters. Ever since Al Capone, gangbusters, didn't let up at all. But these gangs, they let them run wild, and they're wreaking havoc on citizens in the neighborhoods. Cities and states that proclaim immigration sanctuary status, which include California, of course, Colorado, Illinois, Massachusetts, and New York, vow not to cooperate with federal immigration officials. Why is there a policy put in by the White House that says that the feds have to back off? They have to back off. They can't get involved in this. Why? Why is ICE not allowed to take these people and deport them? Tell me why. What's the scheme? What's the plan? What does the administration have in mind by allowing these Venezuelan gangs and other gangs to come in here and wreak havoc and go free? Tell me why. That means local authorities will not hold wanted illegal immigrants for ICE. They won't tip off the feds if they have a migrant fugitive in their custody for a local crime. They're not allowed to. Migrants who are convicted locally are typically released after serving their time in jail. If they even get time in jail, they normally get no bail. We know that. They're not held for ICE agents to nab them and begin deportation proceedings under sanctuary policies. Who came up with the idea of sanctuary cities? Who are they protecting? Why are they protecting the migrants and not the communities and not the cities? The citizens that live and work and support the city and the country with their tax money. Why are they not protecting them? Why are they protecting illegal migrants that commit crimes? Give me a good, solid answer. I want to hear it. Anybody with knowledge, let me know. In New York City, the policy was adopted decades ago, then codified under former Mayor Bill de Blasio, the worst, Italian guy, sorry, the worst. Let me tell you something, I'm not racist. Italian guy's bad, get rid of them. Get them out. I don't care because they're Italian like me. No, get them out. If they're not doing their job properly and protecting the American people and doing what they took an oath to do when they come in office, get rid of them. I wouldn't care if it was my own brother. Get him out of there. You mistrust your position, you're out as far as I'm concerned. And it remains in effect under the auspices of the city council. This is big shot New York, sanctuary city that's wreaking havoc on their own citizens. For the NYPD, it means city health and hospitals and homeless services officials have strict limits on police access to migrant shelter and health services in the 5 boroughs. The sanctuary city status eliminates the fear of expulsion, NYPD Chief of Patrol John Chell said. In other words, these gangs, they're not afraid. They're not going to be held accountable, so they're not afraid. They know they're not going to be deported. They can't be deported. They're going to go to jail. Maybe they'll get locked up and they'll be out, usually with no bail. Remember, no care. It's bad to give bail to criminals that are wreaking havoc on citizens in the city. Can't do that. That's racist. Are these people crazy or what? If you're a migrant member of TDA, Tren De Agua, or any criminal group, and you know the existing laws or existing sentiment on prosecution, and you know you're not getting kicked out of the country, for them it's worth the risk, the chief told the Post. It's worth the risk to peddle drugs. It's worth the risk for human trafficking. It's worth the risk, to get involved in the drug business. It's worth the risk because you're not going to get thrown out. Why are not the feds? Why is the FBI not coming down on these people? I want to know. They're wreaking havoc in the neighborhood. It's a criminal enterprise, just like the Mafia was. Okay, perfect to be indicted under the RICO statute. Why are they backing off? Why are they leaving them alone? And they are. Why are they not prosecuting them to the fullest extent of the law? Why not? Answer me. Cops are barred from patrolling the shelters housing asylum seekers unless it's due to a 9/11 call, a health emergency, or if they have a warrant or a subpoena after a cumbersome process, sources say. So in other words, these gangs can be wreaking havoc, but the police can't even answer a call unless it's a 9/11 call, unless something is happening. So they have to wait for the crime. They can't, even though they know that these gangs are patrolling these areas, they're not allowed to do anything about it. Even then, the department is hampered. A police raid at the Randall's Island migrant shelter last month, which stemmed from reports that Tren De Aragua was stashing guns in cars at the site, fizzled after the gangbangers were tipped off and stashed the cache. Investigators suspect that private security guards at the facility may have tipped off the migrant, sources said. The biggest challenge is the infrastructure for sharing information isn't there, one frustrated law enforcement told the reporter on Monday. That makes Randall's Island ideal because it's big, it's hidden, and you can exploit that. According to sources, the private guards who are barred from working hand-in-hand with the NYPD. Why are they barred from working hand-in-hand with the NYPD if this is a criminal organization operating within their area? They have allowed guns and drugs to filter into the shelters because food deliveries in which the items are stashed are not searched or put through metal detectors before being allowed in. Now, let me tell you this. The feds can override all of this. The FBI can override all the locals, all the security guards. If they know this is going on, why are they not acting? I want to know. You came down on my former associates. You put everybody in jail. Many of them died there. Why are you not coming down on these criminal organizations the way you came down on us? I'm going to tell you this right now. If Rudy Giuliani were mayor of New York, none of this stuff would be going on. Citizens would be safe. You could say what you want about Giuliani. If anybody could have a gripe with him, I can. He put me on trial for several months, cost me, a couple of $1 million in attorney's fees and lost wages because I had to sit in a courtroom. He wanted to put me away for 100 years. He said that. Yeah, I've patched it up with him. We've met. Yeah, I get it, He said some nice things about me, wrote the foreword to my book. He wrote it, because, hey, people change in life. If Rudy Giuliani was the mayor of New York, you would not be going through any of this, New Yorkers. That gang would not be allowed to roam the streets. That gang would be under federal investigations and indictments. He would make sure of it. He would empower the feds to go after them. He would empower the NYPD to go after them. And you wouldn't have this. He cleaned up the city once, and he would do it again. We need a Rudy Giuliani in office. We do. Because this is nonsense. And we need to get rid of these sanctuary cities because all they're doing is protecting criminals. And we can't have it. Let the feds come down on them the way they came down on us. Meanwhile, Tren De Agua, whose members hid among the tens of thousands of migrants flowing into the U.S., have been recruiting new members from within the shelters. So they're getting new members. Not only did they come in as gang members, but now they're recruiting new members from within the shelters. We're letting all these people in, all illegal migrants, to wreak havoc on the cities in these sanctuary cities. Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? Because maybe Joe Biden does believe that we're all garbage and he doesn't care about us. And that's the truth. He's shown it with these policies. I'm not getting political, but it's the truth. These are issues. Why are they not investigating and locking these people up? I wish I did have that power and authority, as well as a power and authority to modify our sanctuary city law. Adams told reporters on September 6th, that's Mayor Eric Adams. Maybe he wants to do something about it, but he doesn't even have the power to do it. But again, I'm asking, why does the FBI not come down on these groups? They're not as sophisticated as we were. They know where they are. They're letting them in. Why are they not going after them? Why do they not have undercover investigations? Why are they not creating informants? Why do they not have surveillance equipment out there? Why are they not doing it? These people are directly hurting the communities in which they are thriving in. I don't believe if a person commits a violent felony act that we should not coordinate with ICE to have that person removed from our country after they serve their time, Mayor Adams said. So he's not even getting cooperation. Why are the feds not cooperating with the mayor of New York? I'll tell you this, if Giuliani was the mayor, he'd do whatever he had to do to get the people to put pressure on the FBI and the feds to get this done. You got to have leadership. He would do it. He wouldn't be afraid of what's going on in Washington. At an earlier briefing on August 27th, the mayor said migrants who commit crimes, quote, should not remain in our country after they serve their time, but he's hamstrung by these federal laws, by the immigration laws. Mayorkas, the guy disgusts me. What a liar he is. Remember the border secure for 3.5 years until the polls told them something differently? They lied for 3.5 years. And they allowed these migrants to come in, the migrants that we know about, the gangs that we know about. What about the number is thrown around, 1 million gotaways that are in this country that include terrorists, other gang members, other criminals that were removed from other countries. We don't know about any of this. I had 7 indictments. The community was never in danger. Yeah, I stole tax money. Community wasn't in danger. Why were they all over me? Why are they not over these people? Our priority is to keep every individual in our care and New Yorkers at large safe. That's what he says, but it's not happening. Look, I got a very dear friend, a very prominent guy. I'm not going to mention his name, a well-known guy. But he said, Mike, I'm leaving. I'm going down to Florida. There's nothing here in New York anymore. He said, I don't even want to do a meeting in New York City. I do everything by Zoom. I don't even want to leave my house. And this is a guy that's lived there his entire life. He's a little bit older than me. Why are they allowing this to happen? Can you give me any reasonable response as to why they're allowing this to happen? Why are the feds not all over these groups, these violent gangs, like they were over Cosa Nostra? I want an answer. Which is why all of our migrant shelters have 24/7 security and inspections of all bags and packages, including food delivery bags, a City Hall spokesperson said. We've been clear that anyone who violates the code of conduct or threatens the safety of other shelter residents and staff may be subject to loss of shelter. Yeah, the only problem with that is they lock them up, they get no bail, they come right back on the street, they can't deport them, they're here illegally, they're probably given money. In New York, they give you a $10,000 credit card if you're an illegal migrant. They don't do that for their citizens that are struggling and working 2 jobs, but they'll give you a credit card, they'll give you free housing, free health care, and they'll wreak havoc on the city because we can't remove you. Go and do it. How does this make sense? How does this make sense? Let me go a little further with this. I want to read something else. A Colorado Airbnb host faces $16,000 in damages after suspected migrant gangbangers destroy her property. Listen to this. I mean, this is sickening. Cigarette butts, gums, cans, empty bottles, and bags of drugs littered an Airbnb property hidden away in the Colorado mountains after one guest's brief stay turned into a long-standing problem brought on by suspected gang-related chaos, leaving host Karen Martiz facing thousands of dollars in repairs while the property remains damaged and temporarily useless. Now, we know what happened in Aurora, Colorado. They took over an apartment complex, chased people out, scared them, dealing drugs, human trafficking, the whole bit in that shelter. Now, the mayor or the governor tried to hide it. They tried to make believe it wasn't going on. The same way mainstream media reported about the Mafia all the time, every single day, but they don't want to talk about Tren De Aragua. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about crime in the sanctuary cities. No, they don't want to talk about that because it's a bad mark on the administration that they're protecting, on the progressive. They don't want to talk about it. On us, they were all over us. This, let it go. Don't, people in the community be damned. I have put all my energy and love into this property. This is the property owner, to make it beautiful for my guests. It's a beautiful place. Everybody loved it. We've been hosting for 2 years, and this was the first time that I showed up here and my house was completely destroyed. I couldn't believe it, Martise told Fox News early Wednesday. The property, located in Evergreen, west of Denver, is marked as no smoking property, but that didn't stop the guests who checked in to stay over the weekend and the people they brought along for a massive party. Its living space was emptied. Walls were dirtied. In other words, they took all the furniture out. The carpets were stained and marred by gum. These are animals. Animals. Gum was even stuck on the walls and the ceilings, Martise told Fox, an affiliate based in Denver. Disrespected and violated, she told the outlet. She's left with no choice but to replace the entire carpet. Overall damages are estimated at $16,000. Here's a woman trying to make a living. Trying to make a living. She rents out her Airbnb. You don't know who these people are. They present themselves one way, then they come in and cause this kind of havoc. And these people, you can't get rid of them. You can't get them out of the country. You can't deport them. They're not even there legally. But you can't do anything to them. But go after the Mafia. That's important. It was a horrible scene. When I walked into my house, I couldn't believe what I was actually living this, because until you live it, you're like, quote, is this even something that could happen to people, she said. Local authorities told Fox they suspect members of the Venezuelan migrant gang Tren De Agua were behind the destruction, but they didn't specify why. So they must have done some kind of investigation, and they come up with the fact that it was that gang. Police told Martise the same. She additionally shared with Fox that a neighbor present nearby when the chaos occurred heard gunshots coming from the property. So they have guns. Illegal weapons, of course. I carry a gun, I go to jail for 15 years because I'm a prior felon. These people walk around with guns. You lock them up. They get no bail. They get out on the street and you can't deport them. What is this going on? This is insanity. It's very real, and this group of people, Tren De Agua, are doing it to people like me, she continued, innocent person, just trying to make a living, renting out her space. Police also believe anywhere from 80 to 100 people were behind the damage. 80 to 100 people in an Airbnb. When did that ever happen? They don't even respect us here. They laugh at us. Remember the one guy from Venezuela was laughing at us, showing us how much money he was given? They finally got rid of him, laughing at us. We're the laughing stock. The entire ordeal has sidelined Martise for now, leaving her to wonder how she will cover her current expenses without raking in income from the property. And remember this, her tax money is going to support these illegal migrants that are wreaking havoc in the communities where taxpayers are spending their taxpayer money to support the very people that are wreaking havoc on them. This is what we have come to here in the United States of America. The United States of America, not Venezuela, not a third world country, the United States of America. This is what is being allowed. FBI, where are you? These are criminal organizations that could be prosecuted under the RICO statute like you did with Cosa Nostra. Where are you now? We're not going to be able to rent our property for about a month until we get everything fixed. That means we're not going to have guests in our house, and definitely this is something that helps us pay our bills and our mortgage, keeps us being able to afford this beautiful home. That is the home that I plan to retire on. So it's a very difficult situation because it puts me really in a financial strain. This poor woman has to be under a financial strain. Again, let me go over this, because of illegal migrant gangs that we let come across the border, that the FBI fails to prosecute or even investigate under the RICO statute, that ICE is not allowed to deport even after they're locked up and let out again on bail. They're illegal, they're criminals, and we're not allowed to deport them. We have to let them stay in these sanctuary cities to wreak havoc on the taxpayers that are paying them to wreak havoc on them. Makes a lot of sense? Former President Donald Trump and other prominent Republicans have warned of migrant gang violence as members of Tren De Aragua stand accused of violence and taking over apartments in the Centennial State. We've already heard of this. The mainstream media doesn't want to report it, but it's absolutely happening. They are taking over apartment complexes, not only in New York City, but also in Colorado and in other sanctuary cities. Absolutely no exaggeration at all. They are absolutely doing it. This is very real. It should be taken very seriously. These people are not here to do good. They have nothing to lose. They don't care. They're just coming in, destroying properties, destroying people's lives like nothing. Something needs to happen. This needs to stop 100% as soon as possible. People, you know what? This is absolutely disgusting, and I'll say it again. Where is the FBI? You put millions of dollars in effort into prosecuting Cosa Nostra. How many guys did you send to prison? How many guys died in prison? How many informants did you turn? How many people did you have working on this for years and years and years? Organized crime. This is organized crime. Where are you, FBI? People, comment. Let me know what you think about this. This has got to stop. It has got to stop. It's so disturbing to have to report on something like this. It's unbelievable. I never thought we would ever see the day. The way the FBI came down on us, I thought they would do that on any criminal organization, but they failed to do it. The FBI has come too political. Let's be honest. It needs an overhaul. End of story. How do I always leave you? Same way, people. Be safe. In light of this, please be safe. We don't know who's lurking anywhere around, especially in the sanctuary cities. And you know what? Petition your congresspeople to get rid of these sanctuary cities. There's no reason for them. We should be able to deport illegal migrants who are committing crimes. Be safe, be healthy, do the best you can, people. You know, we got one life to live. And yes, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. God bless you, your family, your wife, your husband, your children, your loved ones, your community, your neighborhoods. And yes, God bless America. I'll see you next time. Take care.